Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome indeed to today's iOB business webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. My name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business, and I will be the one taking you through today's webinar session. Now, what's important to note, if this is your first time joining us, okay, if you do have any questions throughout today's webinar, you're more than welcome to ask them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. There should be like a gray box for you there. And if you ask those questions, I'll get them for you at the end during the Q&A session after the webinar. Okay, now in between each of the three core topics we're going to discuss today, I'm going to take a brief pause to give you a moment to jot down any notes. So don't worry about falling behind. And indeed, please do take this time to catch up on any questions that you'd like to ask as well. You can ask questions related to business, marketing, whatever you like. Okay, so as we are getting kicked off for today's session, a pleasure to see so many familiar faces. Thank you for joining us again. Okay, so whilst we get set up then for today's session, we'll go ahead and pop that up on screen there. Okay, so three biggest fears for startups and how you can beat them. Okay, a completely awesome topic of conversation we have to discuss today. So I should no longer be able to see my face because I've switched off my video camera so that you can just see the presentation up on screen there. And you should still be able to hear my voice okay. So if you could please just give me a little confirmation in the chat box, that would be fantastic right before we get kicked off for today's session. So just let me know that you can hear my voice okay, and you can indeed see the presentation up on screen there okay as well. And we will get kicked off for today's session. Okay, so excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, good. Ready to rock. Everybody good? All clear? Excellent. So let's get started then with today's topic of conversation. The three biggest fears right now that I'm seeing very, very often for startups and how you can beat them. Okay. So once again, my name is Ben and I'm a business coach. I specialize in working with small businesses to help them achieve stability and growth. And it's my absolute passion. It's a pleasure to be on here. And I very, very much enjoy doing stuff like this. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you today. Okay, now today's session, three core topics as always. Number one, fear, it's not going to make any money. Number two, fear, it's going to fail. And number three, fear, I don't know how to run a business. Okay, so you could call this one maybe a fear or a concern. And we're going to cover it in great detail in topic number three of today's webinar session. Okay, so without further ado, let's get ourselves kicked off with topic number one. It's not going to make any money. Okay, so if this is one of the big fears that you have, let's talk through exactly what that fear could mean and how we can overcome it together. Okay, so first things first, same with anything. You don't know until you try. Okay, now this theory, I know it's most commonly heard for, you don't know if you don't like that food until you've tried it, or you don't know if you don't like that taste until you've tried it. Okay, so you don't know until you try. It applies a little bit differently here. Okay, so you don't know until you try. Now, if your predominant concern is I'm not going to start a business because I'm scared that it's not going to make any money. Okay, now this is fears of startups, for people looking to launch a startup, maybe the reasons that they haven't done it yet. Okay, so we're tackling three of the biggest concerns that I hear pretty regularly. Okay, so let's talk about this. You don't know until you try. It is physically impossible for you to know whether you're not going to make any money if you have not yet tried in full to run the business. Okay, now what this does, this kind of way of thinking, this model of thinking, if you like, it really, really puts us off because it leads us down the path of, especially if we have a job with a stable salary and all the rest of it, it makes us think to ourselves, well, that is a big risk. And what if it doesn't make any money? I can't live without any money. I need money. Okay. Now, every business owner within reason has the same thought. Okay. I need money. Of course we do. That's why we're running businesses. Okay. Now, there are lots of other lovely reasons to run businesses, but very few would do it, I'm sure, if it didn't make them any money. So you don't know until you try. Okay. Now, the second thing that must be considered here is that you are not making random guesses at what will earn your business money. Okay. This is something else that we have to factor into the thought process of tackling this fear of the business isn't going to make any money. It's going to crash. It's going to burn. Okay. We have to think about the logic of launching this business. Okay, you're not going to launch the business with a completely random guess and say, well, that'll probably make money, so let's do that. But I haven't done any research. I don't actually know that. I don't have any way of proving that. I don't have any way of education around that topic at all. Let's just try it for the sake of it. Okay? You're never going to do that. Okay. If you are serious about launching a startup, the last thing that you will do is make a random guess at what you believe will earn your business money. Okay. Ideas and concepts that have been put together by us have been nurtured and developed in our minds and in sometimes in tangible formats as well of, okay, well, I can see that this is already a successful business model. This business model is making lots and lots of money for lots and lots of people. Therefore, logic would have it that I can also make money from this. And I've done my own research, I've done my own education on how to market, sell, offer the service offering, whatever that may be. So you're not making just random guesses saying, oh, well, I think it'll work or I hope it will work. You're not doing that. Okay. Now, the next thing, you're educating yourself in both your service offering and the applicable target market. Okay. Now, we're taking away these fears of the fact that it's not going to make any money, because if you've done your research and you know what service offering you want to offer and why, and then you also understand who you're going to sell that service offering to and why, and what pain points you're going to solve for them and things like that. Okay. What unique selling points your product or service offering has. You understand very well how the market operates. Okay. So business A is selling website development services. Okay. And you know that people are selling websites all over the place, all over the world, all of the time. Okay. Websites are being sold all of the time. It's not as if you've developed this brand new product or service that nobody's ever heard of before and you have no idea if anybody's going to use it or not. If you are looking at starting in the digital sector with digital marketing, that will not, or be very unlikely to be, a concern that you have. Okay, you're educating yourself in both your service offering and on the applicable target market. Okay, so if websites are sold, that would then prove the theory that you can also sell websites. Okay, provided you've understood what you need to do and you know how to execute the service offering well. Okay, now, new businesses pop up all the time. They would not do this if there were no money to be earned. So perhaps the final icing on the cake type point for today on topic number one is that new businesses simply wouldn't come around if there was absolutely no way that anybody could make money. And the only way that you could make money was if you were in a job, was if somebody else was paying you to do the work for them. Okay. A business would not pop up if there was not money to be earned. Okay, now this applies to so many different sectors, so many different niches, so many different industries. Okay, they pop up all the time. If there was absolutely no market for it, they wouldn't do it. Okay, if a cafe would have had no customers because nobody wanted to eat their food, nobody wanted to eat sandwiches, nobody wanted to eat cakes, they just wouldn't bother opening because they wouldn't make any money. Okay, and they would know this. So they do pop up on your local high street or in the city center or whatever, wherever they pop up, because they walk past all the other cafes, all the other restaurants, and they see people buying and eating salmon. Okay, so how much money they earn is largely down to their business management and the market that they're in, and their product placement and their product offering and all the rest of it. But new businesses pop up all the time. They wouldn't do it if there was no money to be earned. Now, businesses failing or businesses not going past the startup stage, that's another topic of conversation, and that comes down to business management. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number one. Now, very shortly, we'll be moving on to topic number two. Okay, now let's have a look at topic number one. Let's review it. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brief pause now. I'm going to allow you to just go ahead, take your time, and give you that moment to just jot down any questions that you need and any notes that you might wish to take. And I'll rejoin you in just a moment for topic number two. All right, fantastic. So let's dive on to topic number two then on today's webinar session. Okay. Number two, main fear, it's going to fail. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about why you believe that it's going to fail. Let's talk about how we can overcome this fear of failure. Okay, so once again, without trying, you'll never know. Okay, without trying something, you can absolutely never know if you're going to fail at it. You can't know for sure if you're going to be good at it, if you're going to be bad at it, if you've never done it, if you've never tried it. Now, if you've had 18 or 30 or 40 startups or whatever, it might be fair enough to say, okay, maybe for whatever reason, these businesses aren't working out for you. Okay, now, very, very unlikely is that going to be the case for any of us, including myself or you, probably anybody else on this webinar. Okay, if you are looking to launch a business, even if you've had a couple in the past and they haven't worked out, okay, if this business is in a new sector or a new market or something that you're trying for the first time, then you will not know it's going to fail unless you have tried. Okay, now there's a big thing that I say, and it's very, very simple. If you decide that it's going to fail, then it probably will, because your psychology, your mindset, everything coming into that business is already set. If you are absolutely determined that the business is going to fail, you won't pay it attention, you won't nurture it, you won't give it the care and detail that it needs. You'll start taking more time off, more time away from the desk. You just will not be bothered by the business. And if that's the case, then of course the business is going to fail because it's not getting what it needs to survive. It's like trying to drive a car with no petrol in it. It's trying to drive a car if you haven't, blown air into the tires in 4, 5, 6 years. Okay, it's just not going to work. So once again, without trying, you will never know if it's going to fail or not. Okay. Now, if you genuinely believe that it will fail, then it probably will. Okay. We just spent a bit talking about that. We use the analogy of the car. And if you don't put any fuel in the car doesn't have any way of moving. Therefore, the car is not going to go forward, backward, sideways. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay. So a business needs care, detail, attention. It needs this overall ambition to make it grow, to make it do something. Okay. No business can just start itself up and run itself forever without any input from anyone at any point whatsoever. Okay, it just does not happen, especially in the service-based sector. Okay, we have to be delivering for clients. We have to always be on the hunt for new clients, new prospects, people that we can bring into the business, people who we think would benefit from our service. Okay, so if you genuinely believe it's going to fail, then it probably will. Now, if you enter a thriving market with the correct service offering, and you really genuinely care about making the business work, you've done your education, you've done your groundwork, you've done everything you could possibly do, you pay good attention, you're warm, you're friendly, you have great customer service, it's very difficult to actually fail, okay? If you're a welcoming presence who knows their stuff, you're in a thriving market with the correct service offering, you've got lots and lots of potential clientele, lots and lots of potential prospects, and you think, hey, I could actually do something with this here, okay? It then becomes very difficult for you to actually fail, okay? And how would we describe failing, okay? Staying at the same amount of income for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I wouldn't call that failing. I would call that providing income for yourself, okay? Now, there can be somewhat of a tendency with us, or those of us that leave day jobs or night jobs or part-time jobs or whatever it is that you're working now or were working, and say we're on a fixed salary of 40,000 a year. Now we come in to launch our own business, and in the first year we do 20,000. The next year we do 22,000. The next year we do 27,000. We think, God, we've been running this for 3 years, and we still haven't even reached what our original salary should have been. Because in our heads we've got £40,000. That's what you're earning as a salary, and 27 is what you're earning as a business. Now, you might consider that to be a failure. Personally, I don't, because I would believe then that A, you can increase your earnings well past 40,000 if you wanted to. But in addition to that, you also run your business and therefore most of your working life on your own terms. Okay. You choose who you work with for the most part, when you work, how you want to work, where you want to work, all of these things. Okay. Now, for most of us, that means getting more family time, getting time to do more leisure activities, getting time to just go and enjoy life a little bit more. Okay, so if you enter a thriving market with the correct offering, it's difficult to actually fail. Now, whether the business fails or not, it's almost always down to you. Okay. Now, of course, there are some factors that really we don't have any control of. Okay. Sometimes there can be enormous drops in the economy, not often, not commonly, but there can be external factors occasionally that can influence the way our business sort of operates. Okay. But many businesses survive storms like this, hypothetical storms, metaphorical storms, and they embrace the turbulence. They establish ways that they're going to get through whatever it is, whatever turbulence there is, and come out the other side. Okay. Now, if everything else is normal, the economy is normal, everything's cool, everything's happy, if the business then fails, it's almost always down to the person running the business. Okay. Now, that's not to say that it's deliberate. Most of the time it isn't. Okay. Because nobody really wants to deliberately make their business fail. But what's really happening is sometimes it's a lack of education, sometimes it's a lack of business management knowledge, sometimes it's a lack of knowing how to source the correct customers, correct prospects, correct clients for their business. Okay, but these are all things that can be learned. These are all things that can be taught through experience. Okay, so whether the business fails or not is almost always down to you as the owner, manager, leader of the business. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number 2. I'm going to give you once again a brief moment to go ahead and jot down any notes that you might wish to take, and please do indeed feel free to ask any questions that you have for me on today's session as well. It'd be an absolute pleasure to answer them in the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. So I'll see you again in just a moment's time for the third and final topic, topic number 3, today on today's session. Okay, perfect. So let's get ourselves on to then topic number 3, the third and final topic on today's webinar session. The fear of, or the concern of, I don't know how to run a business. Okay, so let's talk this through. You can study my life and my passion on learning how to run and manage businesses, okay, which involves some maths, which involves some literature, of course, okay, but those beside the point of ultimately understanding that whether you have a natural ability for it or not, you can run a business. You can learn how to run a business. If you truly, genuinely want to, no matter how long it takes, no matter how much study time is needed, no matter how much experience and learning is needed, you will eventually grapple the understanding of how to run a business. Okay, so let's talk about the following methods that you can use. First one, you can hire a mentor or a coach. Okay, typically they are people who have been there, done that, and helping other people do currently what you wish to do. Okay, now mentors and coaches are slightly different. Okay, mentors help you understand things on a different level, help you see things differently, help you open up your mindset and see different things. And coaches also focus on mindset. And coaches are typically, you would find, more practical. Here's how to do this, here's how to do that. Okay, they're both very, very effective in their own way, and it is completely up to you which you would decide to be better for yourself. Okay, now there's a lot of confusion that they're both the same thing. Typically, they're not the same thing. You might see somebody refer to themselves as a coach and a mentor, but ideally, you've got to have a look and see what format of education, what format of tutelage, if you like, would be best for you. Okay, now read books on business. Okay, books really don't cost a lot. You can get them really anywhere from 50p. I suppose you could pay north of 20, 30 pounds for a book if you wanted to, and anywhere in between. So you can pick up books on business, you can pick up books on sales, marketing, operations, finance, how to manage a team, how to manage a business, how to start a business, how to, keep a business going past a certain financial mark. Okay, you can read books on almost everything there is to do with business. Okay, so books are there, books are your friend. Okay, you want to extract as much information from them as you can. Now, you don't have to listen to everything that you read, There'll be lots of differing opinions, lots of different bits of advice, a lot of different things that you may choose or may not choose to listen to. And that's absolutely fine. But at least if you have seen the information, you can choose whether you're going to take that on board or not. So reading books on business is an excellent way to educate yourself. Join webinars such as this one. Okay, this is a free webinar. You can jump on this webinar, you can pick up business information exactly like today. We're talking through 3 of the biggest fears of startups and how you can beat them. Okay, so you can jump on this. I'm sure there are lots and lots of other webinars out there focused on business, focused on marketing, focused on sales, all these kinds of different things that you can pick up and learn from. Okay, so join webinars such as this one. And finally, not that these are the only ideas, because there are lots and lots of ways that you can study and educate yourself on how to run a business. But you can enter communities and you can ask questions. Okay, you can join other people who are either currently trying to do what you are doing or have already done what you were trying to do, or in some way, shape, or form can possibly help. Okay, so enter these communities like Facebook groups, for example, and go ahead and ask these questions. Okay, networking forums, business forums, things like that. Ask these questions, any questions that you have. Try and break down what your concern is. Try and find a specific question you would like to ask, and then go ahead and ask that specific question. Okay, it's very, very useful. So the next point, attend conferences and seminars. Okay, it's another very, very good way to learn. Now, what we'll typically find is that some people prefer to learn one way and other people prefer to learn another way. Okay, so for some it's listening, for some it's reading, for some it's doing. Okay, it just completely depends what you prefer when it comes to how you want to absorb the information. So you can attend these conferences and seminars if you're somebody that enjoys listening, enjoys watching, and you want to pick up whatever it is that person who is running the webinar or speaking on stage or is, whatever they're doing, whatever they're saying, as long as it's a correct format for you, you should have a fairly simple time absorbing that information. Okay, so conferences and seminars, sometimes they do come at a cost, yes, but if it's right for you, then I'm sure it would be worth the investment. Okay, so these days, there is no excuse for not being educated in your niche. This is a very big, very powerful message right at the end of the webinar there. Okay, these days, there is no excuse for not being educated in your niche. There is so much education, so much content online now that is accessible for a lot of people. Okay, so that is the end of topic number 3 and therefore the end of the webinar. Okay, so what we're going to do is take one more final brief pause. Please go ahead and ask any questions. Please go ahead and jot down any notes that you wish to take. And I will see you in just a moment for the recap, and then we will run onto the Q&A session for today as well. Okay, fantastic. So let's go on to the recap then for today's session. Number 1, you don't know anything until you try. So please don't dismiss an idea before you have at least tried to execute it. Number 2, if you tell yourself it will fail, then it probably will. Okay, the message that we tell ourselves is so important. And finally, educate yourself in your niche. There's no excuse for not being educated in something that you truly want to do. Okay, so as always, a massive thank you for taking the time to join us on today's webinar session. It's been a genuine pleasure presenting to you. If you'd like to talk to a member of our team, you can go ahead and head over to iob-business.com/talk-to-us. I'm going to leave that link up on screen there for you, and you can go ahead on that link, book a call at a time that suits you. Okay, so we've got the calendar up on screen there. That's what it's going to look like when you follow the link. You can go ahead, you can book a call with the team at a time that suits you. Okay, so whilst I'm going to leave this link up on screen there for you, I'm also going to go ahead and grab the questions that I have from today. So let's get those answered for you lovely people. All right, first question. My family and friends rarely agree with my business ideas. Family and your friends. Okay, so if you do really genuinely believe in the idea, you've done your market research, you're educated in the area, you know where you're going to offer your service and who you're going to offer it to, how you're going to deliver it, then really that's the information that you need. If you have done full market research, you know what service offering you have, you know why you're going to sell it, how you're going to sell it, how much money you're going to sell it for, then go with your instinct, go with your education, go with whatever groundwork you have done. A really, really good question. Thanks for giving us the chance to run over that. Next question. Isn't education expensive? Well, yes, can be. This webinar is free. So there are many other forms of education out there. Some stuff you got to pay for, some stuff you don't. So if something that you want to do is pick up as much kind of free, valuable content that you can, then make that your mission. Join free webinars, buy sort of low-cost books, find resources, you've got YouTube videos, you've got things like that. There are other free courses online. There's, for example, there may be some courses with Google, I think, also that don't cost anything. So, go and have a look at these things. Go and have a look at these resources and see what you can learn and how you can learn it. Okay, you would be amazed at the amount of free or very, very, very low cost education there is out there. Okay, so of course you can pay a very significant amount of money for some education, and I'm absolutely sure, that if it is genuine and if it is valuable, then it could, very much be worth the money to whoever bought it. But it doesn't mean to say that you need to pay for whatever education it is that you want to look into. All right, so another awesome question. Thanks ever so much for asking. Do we have any more questions from today? No, doesn't look like we do. Okay, well, just the two today then. So as always, a massive thank you for taking time to join us. It has been an absolute pleasure. Take care, and I will speak to you on the next iOB business webinar. Bye for now.